I'm Mark Matsumoto, and today I want to show you how to make a savory Japanese pancake called okonomiyaki, so stick around. Okonomiyaki literally means griddled as you like it, and it gets its name because you can mix in and top it with almost anything you want. I've done a bunch of variations in the past, like cheese and mentaiko, smoked salmon and thyme, and I've even done a vegan okonomiyaki with mushrooms. But I've never done the classic version of this Japanese street food staple, so today I want to show you a traditional Osaka-style okonomiyaki topped with a layer of crispy pork belly and slathered in homemade okonomiyaki sauce. Sounds good, right? Let's get started with a look at our ingredients. For the batter, I'm using 2 large eggs, a half cup of dashi, which I'll include a link to the recipe for in the description, and 120 grams or about 1 cup of flour. For the okonomiyaki, I've got 300 grams of cabbage, 30 grams of scallions, 30 grams of tenkatsu, which are tempura batter flakes, and 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil. I'm also going to be topping my okonomiyaki with about 250 grams of thinly sliced pork belly, but this is optional. For my homemade okonomiyaki sauce, I'm using 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 1 tablespoon of oyster sauce, 1 tablespoon of ketchup, 1 tablespoon of date syrup, and a 1/4 teaspoon of Japanese curry powder. You can also just buy a bottle of okonomiyaki sauce online. For my other toppings today, I'm using Japanese mayonnaise, katsuobushi, which are dried, smoked, and fermented skipjack tuna flakes, aonori, and benishoga. To make the okonomiyaki sauce, I'm gonna add the curry powder and Worcestershire sauce to a small bowl and stir them together. This helps keep the curry powder from clumping up. Then I'm gonna add the date syrup, oyster sauce, and ketchup and stir it all together until it's nice and smooth. Dates are one of the main ingredients in traditional okonomiyaki sauce, and it adds a wonderful caramel flavor. But if you can't find date syrup, honey or maple syrup will work too. To prepare the vegetables, I'm going to stack the cabbage up, and these leaves are kinda huge, so I'm going to cut them in half once. Then I'm going to chop the cabbage into thin strips. You want to make sure you get the stem parts of the cabbage nice and thin so they cook through evenly. Okay, let's get this into a bowl. For the scallions, I'm going to trim the root ends off and cut them down to a more manageable length. Then I'm going to chop them up. Let's get these in with the cabbage too. Then I'm gonna add in our tenkatsu as well. For the batter, I'm gonna start by breaking 2 eggs into the dashi. Then I'm gonna whisk these together until the mixture is uniform in color. The dashi is gonna provide a ton of flavor and umami for our okonomiyaki, and I'll link to my dashi recipe in the description. But if you're in a rush, water will work in a pinch. Next, I'm going to dump this mixture into the flour, and we want to gently mix this until there are no big clumps of flour. Be careful not to overmix this or you'll develop gluten in the flour and your pancakes will end up chewy. Now I'm going to pour the batter over the other ingredients and stir everything together until all of the cabbage is coated in an even layer of batter and the ingredients are evenly distributed. By the way, this is a very traditional okonomiyaki, but remember, okonomiyaki means griddled as you like it. So add in your favorite vegetables, mushrooms, herbs, or protein to make it your own. Okay, this is looking good, so we have one last thing to prepare. I'm gonna cut a square piece of parchment paper, and then I'm gonna line up half the strips of pork belly like this. Then you want to fold down every other strip of pork, and then place another strip of pork belly perpendicular to the other slices. Unfold the 3 strips of pork, and then you want to fold up the other 2 strips of meat like this. Lay down another strip of pork belly, and then we're gonna continue this process with the remaining pork. Weaving the meat like this is totally optional, but I think it makes it look nice on top. And it helps keep the pork from falling off of our okonomiyaki while it cooks. Once your weave is complete, add some flour to a tea strainer and dust the tops of the pork with a thin layer of flour. This helps the meat adhere to the surface of our savory pancake. Okay, our prep's done, so let's cook this up. I'm gonna add the oil to a preheated frying pan over medium-low heat, and then I'm gonna dump all of the cabbage mixture into the pan. Now we want to shape our okonomiyaki. It might be helpful to use 2 spatulas to do this, and the goal here is to shape it into a thick pancake that's an even thickness from edge to edge. You also want to compress it a bit so you don't have any big pockets of air in the middle. Once you're happy with the shape of your okonomiyaki, you want to invert the pork belly weave onto the top of the pancake. Try and get it as centered as possible, and then you can peel the parchment paper away. Use a spatula to tuck any flaps of meat under the pancake to give it a nice shape. Now we want to let this slowly cook on one side for 7 to 9 minutes. If it looks like it's browning too quickly, turn down the heat, otherwise your okonomiyaki is gonna burn before it's cooked all the way through. While we wait for that to cook through, I want to take a moment to thank everyone for supporting my work here. Whether you've signed up for my secret stash of recipes on Patreon, or you're ordering your everyday supplies through my Amazon store, there are a bunch of ways to support my work here, so hit the link in the description down below to see what you can do. Okay, let's have a look and see how this is doing. Ooh, that's looking golden brown, so let's flip this over. I recommend doing this with 2 spatulas coming from either side of the pan, but you can also invert it onto a second frying pan if you have one. Just be careful not to drip any hot oil onto yourself as you flip it. Now you want to repeat the process of shaping and compressing the okonomiyaki to ensure it's making good contact with the pan. The pork belly is going to release plenty of oil into the pan, but if you've skipped it, you may need to add a little more oil to ensure your pancake browns evenly. Now I'm going to let this fry for another 6 to 7 minutes until the pork belly is nice and crispy. Once the pork belly is crisped up, tip the pan a bit and use wadded up paper towels to soak up as much of the fat as you can. This not only keeps the okonomiyaki from getting greasy, it's also super important to do this before you flip it again or you're gonna splash hot oil all over yourself. Okay, let's give this one final flip. And look how beautiful that looks! Alright, I'm gonna slide this out of the pan and onto a plate. And then I'm gonna pour that flavorful sauce all over the top. It may look like a lot, but this okonomiyaki is thick, and the sauce is equal parts savory, sweet, and tangy. Now I'm gonna squirt some Japanese mayo all over the top. Next, I'm gonna sprinkle on some aonori. This literally means green nori, and it's a type of nori that's vibrant green, and it has an aroma that smells like a fresh ocean breeze. Then I'm gonna top this with a handful of katsuobushi, and look at them dance! To finish this off, I'm gonna top it with benishoga. It's a tangy pickled ginger made from ume vinegar and red shiso. And our Japanese cabbage pancake is ready to eat. Alright, the katsuobushi is dancing and this looks delicious, so let's try it out. Itadakimasu! Alright, let's try to get a bite here with some of that crispy pork on top, that cabbage, got a little katsuobushi. Oh, that's so good. I don't know if you can hear that, but there's crunchy bits of pork belly that kind of remind me of bacon bits. That cabbage has become sweet and tender. And you've got that umami-rich katsuobushi on top, that crisp ginger that's a little tangy and salty. Each little morsel has a different texture and a different taste, which come together like a symphony in your mouth. All right, let's try another bite here. I'm gonna get a piece of the bunch of mayonnaise on it. And let's get lots of katsuobushi. That one is super creamy, and that sweet, savory, and spicy sauce was super simple to make, but it tastes way better than the stuff that comes in a bottle. You know, okonomiyaki is a bit like a pizza in that it's a blank canvas that you can top with whatever you like, but you can also fill it with whatever you like. This one was pretty basic, but it was super tasty, so I hope you'll give it a try. So what'd you think? Do you want to see my take on Hiroshima-style okonomiyaki? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, be sure to check out this playlist for more Japanese street food recipes. And I'll catch you in the next one.